everyone. Welcome into another edition of the East AlabamaWorks Video Podcast. I'm Carl Brady, the Workforce Program Manager for East AlabamaWorks. And as you know, we focus on workforce development in the 7-county region of East Alabama, working directly with business and industry leaders and businesses to make sure that they have a well-trained, qualified workforce when they get ready to start hiring people. And surprisingly enough, hiring is going crazy right now, even in the midst of the pandemic and some of our higher unemployment rates, which are dropping, by the way. We are seeing a lot of businesses and industries around the region who are actively hiring, actively recruiting workers. So get out there and go visit your local career center in your community for the best options on finding a good job in the region. So we encourage you to do that, or check with us at East AlabamaWorks at eastalabamaworks.com. We can always find a way to point you in the right direction for those kind of things. Well, as we've been running through this the summer and the 5 months of the pandemic with our podcast, we always have a special guest, and today we have Jackson Hodges. Jackson works for the City of Anniston. And Jackson, what is your official title there with the city now?
Well, thank you for having me, Carl. My official title is the Public Information Officer, or PIO for short.
PIO. That's I wanted to make sure.
Information.
I wanted to make sure that was exactly right before I said it. And it's great to have you on board as in that position for the City of Anniston, to be able to do the public relations and marketing and spread the word of all the great things happening in Anniston. And I keep up with you on Facebook, on your personal Facebook page and the city Facebook page. So you're always putting good information out there. So we're happy to see that.
Absolutely. And I love to do it. You know, I'm very thankful for this role. It's something I've always wanted to do. I wrote my college paper on Anniston way back when, 50 pages or so. And coming home and helping out the city has always been what I wanted to do. So it's always exciting to spread the good news in the model city.
That's great. Well, let's talk about the pandemic. Start off there. COVID-19, kind of mid-March is when we all finally started taking this really seriously, although in the city of Anniston and in the community, we had already heard about it because there was the idea that Homeland Security might be bringing the people from that cruise ship into the Center for Domestic Preparedness. So we kind of already had an idea of what COVID-19 was, but it was mid-March when it hit this community and businesses started shutting down and we started to have to quarantine and things like that. Talk about the City of Anniston's response and ongoing response, and even starting the recovery from the pandemic.
Absolutely, Carl. Well, as you said, we got a crash course on COVID-19 way back in February when the news broke of the passengers of the Diamond Princess cruise ship and the possibility of their relocation to the Center for Domestic Preparedness at Fort McClellan. Obviously, our local leaders and many others worked together and thwarted those plans. However, as you said, March rolled around and the coronavirus found its way here anyway. We are lucky to have the leadership that we do. In terms of Anniston's response, everything starts with our city council and mayor and the city manager, who I applaud all of them for their leadership at this time, empowering me to get information out to people about certain things and making sure that we take the necessary precautions, such as installing protective barriers at our different community centers or making sure that poll workers have the proper protective equipment. It's an entire team effort because it's an entire new arena of government work, truly. I mean, every industry has faced its unique changes and challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and city governments are no different. What I'll say, though, too, we owe a lot of our preparedness, especially early on, to the Anniston Fire Department and their just certainly impeccable Chief Chris Collins. If you want to talk about a detail-oriented guy, he's the Bill Belichick of fire chiefs. I tell you, he is so on top of his I's and his T's, crossing and dotting, that he doesn't overlook things. And so the citizens should rest safely at night knowing you got a guy and his team, the men and women that work for him, that are up every night figuring out how to keep you safe and how to best treat you if you were to get injured or hurt or sick. And the same goes for the Anniston Police Department and their new chief, Nick Bowles, former captain who worked his way up through the ranks. He's such a charismatic guy, really easy to talk to, a good member of the community. They, along with the EMA and the Joint Unified Command, have done a good job at not only establishing our test sites that we do have now, but also guiding us and preparing us for what was going to come, what eventually happened, and what is currently happening. And so again, it really comes down to leadership and planning. The little details are important, but we owe a lot to these leaders in our safety organizations and in our city government for doing their best to keep us safe, as well as our healthcare heroes. Obviously, absolutely, none of our efforts, they'd all be in vain if it wasn't for everyone at RMC, from CEO Louis Bass, Dr. Magadia, Dr. McGort, Dr. Free. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And we certainly send our prayers and want to show our support every day for those individuals that are working so hard for our community.
You know, initially it was a very scary time for business owners, especially small business owners who saw their businesses close down and shut down for an extended period of time. But a lot of those businesses are thriving and making a comeback, and it's because of the leadership in the community helping to bring that to fruition.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Carl. I mean, during the shutdown, the City of Anniston, we started a video series called The People of Anniston, because we were trying to figure out ways to help. We considered doing a video tutorial on the Paycheck Protection Program or whatnot, but by the time we got our ducks in a row, that money was gone from that program. And so we realized that maybe the best thing we can do is just sit down and listen to people, share stories from us and between the citizens, let everybody know that, look, we're all facing this, and you just got to find a way to keep going. And so as I sat down with barbershop owners, the Soup Bowl director, the community enabler director, you'd hear a lot of the same things, that this is difficult, this is a trying time, but everyone still had that chip on their shoulder to keep going. And it rang true for everyone I spoke with. And so our leaders set the tone, but our citizens, they really make the team work. They make the city work, and their resolve, the city's resolve, has always been something that I think is one of Anniston's monikers. We have faced many scary, adverse situations ever since 1883, when we came around, but we still stand today, and that can't be underestimated. And we owe that to our citizens, who are the lifeblood of the city. But as you said, yes, businesses are starting to rebound, and that's exciting. We know that there are still some local businesses that are having a hard time. That was one of the main reasons why the city council voted to put $100,000 into the community foundation's small business relief fund. We were so proud and happy to do that. That went directly to Anniston businesses. And then furthermore, something that might give the citizens of Anniston a little peace of mind, we had our fiscal year 2021 budget meetings last week. And, there were a lot of concerns over how the shutdown would affect municipal revenues for municipal governments. Sales tax dropping because these businesses aren't open. And ironically enough, what has happened, at least for the upcoming 2021 year, is that although you saw a drop with some of the smaller businesses, you saw a boom with Walmart and Lowe's and these bigger retailers, and that truly made up the difference. Financially speaking, our budget is very healthy and strong, not expecting too big of any losses. Obviously, we had to make a couple hard decisions at the beginning, let some people go, rearrange some things, but it's always best to be properly prepared prior to a situation, and that is what we were doing early on in the pandemic. But nevertheless, the sales tax revenue is holding strong, so the city is healthy financially, which means that we're going to be able to continue being there for our citizens, continue equipping our safety personnel and first responders with what they need. And then in addition, speaking of that too, I will mention we even entered into an animal control partnership with Pell City, right before the pandemic began. And we've seen animal control costs drop from sometimes $20,000 a month to just about $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Wow.
So, creative thinking, creative solutions, coming up top from leadership, but being followed through by the citizens. That's what makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. Makes East Alabama work too, I'm sure.
That's right.
And all that said, look, as we all will acknowledge, this situation is dire, and perhaps at its most dire point right now, at least here in Calhoun County. That said, there is a silver lining and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So let's keep pushing forward together.
Absolutely. We are seeing here 5 months into the pandemic, some of the numbers we thought we would have seen earlier as far as hospitalizations and the number of people who have been infected with the virus. But hopefully we're a couple of weeks into the statewide mask order at this time, and hopefully continued safety precautions like masks, hand washing, hand sanitizer, and social distancing. Hopefully those things are going to lead to a peak, and we may be seeing our peak right now, because there have been some reports around the state of numbers actually starting to even out or drop. So hopefully that trend will continue. Absolutely.
I've seen that same data that you've looked at. It does look like the mask mandate and whatnot is starting to have a positive effect. It's just the little things, like you said, putting your mask on, staying socially distanced. At the end of the day, we can't make anyone as a city government do anything, but we encourage everyone to do the right thing. And the right thing this time is what's best for your fellow man. Take a moment to send my thoughts and prayers, I'm sure as yours as well, in our communities, to everyone battling COVID-19, and then especially to Commissioner Eli Henderson, who's done so much for the city and our country in his time as Marine, praying for their family's strength and his healing. It just shows you how real this situation is. It's very real every day for those healthcare heroes at RMC, the hospitals at max capacity. And many people don't realize that RMC, the R stands for regional, and it's a regional hospital, which means it's not just serving Anniston or Oxford. It's serving a population of about roughly 300,000. And so when its COVID capacity gets to the max, patients are going to have to be sent elsewhere. And it may not just be necessarily COVID patients. It could be patients who need another type of operation, but those resources are having to be directed towards COVID. So again, the best way we can get those numbers down to the hospital, and the best way we can keep those that we love safe, is to wear a mask, socially distance, wash your hands, do the little things. It's common sense, and I know we have what it takes to get it done.
Absolutely. And, I have been saying from the beginning, people are always questioning whether the mask actually works and whether some of these things are working. All I'm out, it doesn't hurt me at all to wear a mask for 15 minutes when I go to the grocery store. Yeah, of course, it only takes me 15 minutes to go in the grocery store. It doesn't hurt me. But it doesn't hurt me at all to wear that mask for a few minutes when it's necessary. And if it helps, then that's all the benefit right there. It doesn't cost me any pride, doesn't cost me any money, doesn't cost me anything at all to put that mask on for a few minutes when I go out in public.
I agree. I mean, I often say, what would Jesus do? He would put others before himself. And the best way you can do that is putting the mask on. If it's something you don't like to do and it's uncomfortable, well, by doing it and doing something uncomfortable, it shows you putting other people first. It's for the common good. It's the same reason why we don't allow people to smoke cigarettes in restaurants anymore. That's how we need to look at it. It's not for me, the 27-year-old, it's for, my grandfather or grandmother who might have existing conditions, or someone my age who might have a compromised immune system. I know several people in this city alone that are in that situation. And we always have to be mindful, because not only are we dealing with the virus, but we're dealing with the regular ins and outs of life too, because it goes on. Students going back to school and a lot of apprehension there, but we just got to keep faith and keep doing what the experts tell us, because it does work. And we live in a world nowadays where if it doesn't work immediately, everyone's quick to be like, oh, it didn't work at all. And that's not the case. Change, especially statistical change, takes time and
Takes
investment.
time.
And you don't see it until a week or two later. So be patient. It's working. Let's keep at it.
And it all comes back to me to kind of a personal motto, just two simple words: be nice. That's it. That's just be nice, quit fighting and fussing all the time.
Yeah.
But we could talk for hours about that. we could get into sermonizing and Bible studies here if you want to do that, but we won't do that today. Let's talk about the upcoming municipal election. That's always an exciting time in any community, an interesting time in any community. But you guys, you have the municipal election coming up in Anniston. We've got some dates that we probably want to remember, and a change in one of the polling places that was happened this week, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely, yeah. Just yesterday. So what the citizens of Anniston really need to be aware of is that on August 25th, for these municipal elections that we will have, Ward 1 now has a new polling location. Okay. In the past, if you live in Ward 1, which is primarily the Fort McClellan area, but it extends out towards the city a bit. Primarily, your polling locations are always the First Presbyterian Church and the Calhoun County Health Department. But speaking of COVID, the health department now does testing there weekly. And so in light of HIPAA concerns, we will not be using the health department as a polling location for Ward 1. Instead, the council yesterday at a called meeting approved the Senior Citizen and Therapeutic Recreation Center as Ward 1's new polling location. And that is located at 980 Little Brant Drive in Anniston. It is in Fort McClellan, very close to the Sacred Heart School. And so Ward 1's two polling locations for the election on August 25th, they will be the First Presbyterian Church as regular. However, the other one will be the Senior Citizen and Therapeutic Recreation Center. We will have signage up. If anyone wants to check out the City of Anniston's website, the first thing you'll see in big blue letters is a link to a Google map with all 9 of the polls. Each ward has 2 polls. Ward 2 has 3 of them, but they all have 2. So, and they're color coded. You can download that map. It'll give you GPS directions to each one. A couple other things about the election that people might want to know. First off, if you have any election questions, you're not sure if you're registered, you want to vote absentee, you don't know where your poll is, please contact our city clerk, Miss Skylar Bass. This is her first election, but she's doing a tremendous job. She's super nice, works really hard, and her number is 256-231-7710. And she can help you with any election-related information you may need. Another thing that is worth noting, speaking of the COVID-19 situation, the Alabama League of Municipalities voted through emergency legislation to allow absentee voting in regard to COVID-19 concerns. So what voters need to know, that means that you can vote absentee as a result of just being concerned of COVID. You could have it, you could be sick, or you could just be afraid of it in a general sense. And that is an okay reason to vote absentee. And so what you need to do, you get your absentee ballot and you'll check the box that says I have a physical infirmity that prevents me from going to the polls, regardless if you have the virus or not. If you're just afraid, you still check that box. And then you need to attach a copy of your photo ID. You mail that in. You need to mail that in to Miss Skylar Bass here at the City of Anniston at 4309 McClellan Boulevard. You need to have that mailed in by the 24th. Have it postmarked. If you're going to hand deliver it, you need to make sure you just deliver it in before the election date, which is on August 25th. And so again, you can contact the city clerk at 256-231-7710. All the polling places will be sanitized. Masks are strongly encouraged. And there will be hand sanitizers as you come in. And we encourage the citizens also, it's not a time to socialize. Let's get in, get out. We don't want a lot of violation of the social distancing guidelines, if you will, which will be adhered to at the polling stations. But that all said, we're very optimistic and excited, wishing all the candidates the best of luck, hearing a lot of good plans and whatnot. I'll also let citizens know, for those that want to see a candidate forum, because I've heard a lot of questions about that. The City of Anniston does not and has not ever put on candidate forums. However, this year, because the chamber usually puts them on, but this year the Anniston Star is going to be hosting candidate forums for the Anniston council and mayor positions. The council and school board forum will occur on August 13th at the Anniston High School in their auditorium at 3:30 p.m. And the mayoral forum will occur on August 20th at 3:30 at the Anniston High School auditorium as well. And both of those will be open to the public. I imagine they'll be streamed on the Star's Facebook as well, but I encourage people to check that out to learn more about their candidates.
So a lot of great information there about the municipal election for the citizens of Anniston, and always a good idea. Being able to do the absentee voting because of COVID is a good thing, because there are a lot of people out there who may not be sick, but as we mentioned earlier, may have some risk factors. They may be elderly or immune compromised or have some kind of reason that, or what?
Or sometimes asymptomatic.
Yeah. Or you may be asymptomatic. You may not even know you have it, but you've been exposed, or you think you might have been exposed. Just lots of good reasons there for that absentee voting to be able to take place, so that everybody has the opportunity to have their voice heard in the election. And speaking of having our voices heard, the US Census is still ongoing. And we at East Alabama Works have been talking for months now about the importance of the census. Jackson, you've been talking about it. People in the county have been talking about it. People in other municipalities are talking about it all around the state. We have special offices for it. And that's because having an accurate count of citizens is so important to the money that comes into our community and our representation. Here in the state of Alabama, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and potentially a Senate seat and a congressional seat that we could lose if we don't have enough people counted. And right now in our community, we're sitting at only around a little over 50% in East Alabama of people who have responded to the census. And we've got to get that number up and get more people responding to the census.
I mean, I cannot agree with that more. If anyone's listening, look, the census, simply put, it is the most important thing you can do for your city. It is a civic duty, one. So it needs to be looked at as an obligation. It needs to be looked at as a way to serve your city and your country and your county. But more importantly, as you said, it affects so much around us. And it's one of those things that what we do now in this moment will carry over for 10 years, because this isn't going to be done again for 10 years. And so whatever funding amounts, whatever allocations are determined based off of the numbers we report, that's what we're going to get. And we are not where we want to be. I think Anniston's around roughly 57%. The goal is 80, and that might be hard, but man, if you shoot for the moon, you may land amongst the stars. We're only going to get into outer space if we get a couple more people to get in there and get excited and motivated about it. Guys, look, I know it may be a dry subject, but they'll tell you it takes 6 minutes on average. Having done it, I'd say it's less than that. It takes maybe 3 to 2 minutes if you have a family of less than 4 people. All they want to know is an address, your name, their name, and age, and if you rent or own. And those questions are kept entirely confidential. Again, it takes 2 to 3 minutes. You can complete your census by phone by calling 844-330-2020. And that is the Census Bureau. That is the number they put out. You can complete it over the phone by calling them there. Or, as always, you can do the census online very quickly at www.2020census.gov. And so, citizens of Anniston, please, there really is no excuse other than laziness. I hate to say it, and I don't want to be mean. But it is what it is. If you can stand up today, you can do the census. If you can lift your hand up and move your fingers, you should be able to do it. And so I encourage everyone, if you know someone that hasn't or may not have done it, reach out, shoot them a text. It takes 10 seconds. It may be a little bit boring, but when your roads are paved and when your kids are well fed in school and when your state health care and whatnot is taken care of, you'll be looking back and you'll be thankful for the 2 minutes to 3 minutes that you invested into the census because that is what will lead to these programs and to our city's ability to help our citizens. It is roughly estimated that each individual in the census is worth about $1,600. But what you got to realize, for example, we've done some census events. Big shout out to Miss Angie McVeigh at the County Chamber of Commerce. She's really put this effort on her back, and we appreciate all she's done. And we, over the summer, have gone out to different areas of Anniston and done community census events, getting people to sign up. And at one event, we may have only had 10 people sign up, but what you got to realize is that's 10 times 1,600 times 10 for 10 years. So it'd be 1,600 to 16,000 to 160,000 over 10 years. And that's just 10 people. And think about the impact that can have. So please, again, I encourage people, call 844-330-2020 to do it via phone, do your census over the phone, or you can do your census online at www.2020census.gov. You can also contact the Calhoun County Chamber of Commerce anytime, and they will gladly help you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with the municipal election coming up, and one of the things people always talk about during election time is, I want my road paved and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All that money for road paving that cities use, the money that they give to community, to different community projects, come in the form a lot of times of community development block grants, which are federal dollars. And the amount of money that your community gets in those CDBG funds is based on census numbers. So that's an important thing right there. If you want your road paved, fill out the census.
It's 2 minutes. If you want a road,
that's
don't
right.
ask what your city can do for you. Always start with what can you do for your city, and then we'll see what we can do for you. But guys, gotta meet us halfway. Gotta get that census done.
Absolutely. And sometime in the next couple of months, you'll be seeing some census workers hitting the streets and going house to house for the homes that did not, for the addresses that did not do the census online or send in the printed, the written form. So you'll start seeing some people come out and hitting the streets in your community soon. But Jackson, we're quickly running out of time. Any final thoughts? Any couple of things that we didn't hit on that we need to talk about?
Yeah, real quickly, again, thank you so much for the time. Love the work you guys are doing. Love the workforce development. It's so critical here in East Alabama and Calhoun County and Anniston. I'll wrap up by saying the Anniston Police Department is hiring. Join our city's finest, ladies and gentlemen, because crime is down 40%, and that's because of the men and women in blue at the APD. We are very thankful for them. You can find out more, and you can apply for a job with the Anniston Police Department by going to www.annistonal.gov/police, or you can just contact them and they can give you the information. We're excited too, on that note, to welcome in our newest police chief, Chief Nick Bowles. Really just another one of those guys that has worked his way up the ranks, that has earned the position that he's at, serving as a captain prior and working his way up even to there. Really personable, energetic, and motivated. And I love the way he put it on the day he was selected to be the chief. He said, if you're not happy with the police department, then come join and be the change you want to see, because that line of thought can be applied to so many things. Just like we were talking about with the census. If you're not happy with your road, did you fill out the census? Did you vote? If both those answers are no, then maybe the finger shouldn't be pointed at your city government. Maybe you might need to take a little look in the mirror. But nevertheless, though, we're always happy to help in any way we can, but we need some help too from our citizens. So yes, real quick there, check out the Anniston Police Department. They have awesome jobs in their crime lab and their community unit and investigative unit. So many different things you can do there. Contact them about that job. We have a new bus trail that is almost done being built at the Anniston Natural History Museum. We really appreciate Senator Del Marsh and others who helped make that possible. Going to be able to bring in more kids and tours to that awesome museum there. We're going to have a new website for the City of Anniston coming out in the next couple months. Be excited for it. I've worked on it personally, and I think it will be a really good first impression of the city and a really simplified way to get information. And other than that, we look forward to the August 25th elections. We hope everyone stays safe. Remember, Ward 1 has a new polling location. That location is the Senior Citizen and Therapeutic Recreation Center located at 980 Little Brant Drive in Anniston. That is in Fort McClellan. So Ward 1, on August 25th, you will either vote at the First Presbyterian Church, if you always have, or you will vote at the Senior Citizen Center. You will not be voting at the Calhoun County Health Department. It is not a poll because of the COVID testing that is going on there. And yeah, so, get your census done, go vote. Check out what all we got going on. There's a lot of good things on the horizon. It takes a village, but we certainly have one here, and I am optimistic about the future. Always, as I tell people, Anniston, Alabama is the greatest city in the United States of America. I believe that with all my heart, and we're going to get better each and every day.
All right, Jackson, thank you very much for being with us on our East Alabama Works Video Podcast, and wish you guys all the best there in Anniston, and give us a shout anytime you need something from us.
Absolutely, Carl. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, my man.
Thank you very much. And folks, thank you as well for joining us for the East Alabama Works Video Podcast. Be sure to check us out online at eastalabamaworks.com.